A new story broke late Monday on the website page6.com stating that Disney executives were in panic mode regarding early screenings of Star Wars Rogue One, leading to what will be 4 weeks of reshoots of the movie taking place later this summer during July. Now, obviously, when news like this surfaces, there's going to be a little bit of newfound concerns from a lot of people, and justifiably so to some degree. But because of that, I wanted to weigh in a little bit with my own takes on this whole news story and a few things that I saw within it from a journalistic standpoint that don't have me quite as worried as maybe a lot of people out there might be. First and foremost, the headline and the first paragraph of this article stating that Disney executives are panicking, that they are in crisis mode, followed up with a quote saying that based on the test screening, they're just not fully satisfied with the draft that was put out. Now, when you have a quote about them not being fully satisfied, that can very easily be spun, and often is spun in online journalism, into things like panic mode, crisis mode, and things like that that are obviously going to generate more clicks because it's essentially controversy, and in a lot of ways, that's what a lot of people feed off of. If there was a headline that just said, minor concerns possibly about the Rogue One movie, not nearly as many people are going to click on that headline. And so in this case, hyperbole goes a very much longer distance in the realm of online journalism, and I think to some degree that's very possible that that's what's going on here. My gut sort of tells me that any legitimacy that this whole breaking news might have may not necessarily have to do with the story of Rogue One, given that the Lucasfilm Story Group and all the involvement of everyone at Disney essentially with formulating these stories of the new Star Wars movies since Disney acquired Lucasfilm, there's so much collaboration that's going to go into that to where the story is pretty much set, and what may be in question is the director's actual interpretation of that story. And I think it's very well likely that these reshoots that are going to take place could very well be for the sake of stressing certain parts of that story that they feel maybe weren't adequately stressed in this initial version. Another thing you need to be very wary of when it comes to news stories like this is attribution. With all of these quotes in this story, none of them were actually attributed to a person's name. And while I get it to some degree that when it comes to behind the doors type stuff, that people aren't going to willingly attach their names to it, but it also comes into play with the idea of non-disclosure agreements and things like that, that if they did get caught, if it was found out that they were the ones leaking info, they're in trouble either way, and more people will probably value their jobs that they have in creating movies like this over the idea of giving some juicy quote to a reporter from an online website. The main point with that is, though, is that when you have random quotes out there without any attributable name to them, you have to take them with a grain of salt, because a Hollywood source could be almost anybody in Hollywood talking about this movie, whether or not they actually have inside info. That whole aspect of attribution, kind of a big deal in journalism. The point is that there very well is probably a little bit of truth to this story from the page6.com article. Whether or not they're actually in panic mode, that seems very hyperbolic, and there's no attributable source to back it up. The fact of the matter is, reshoots happen in movies. They've happened in other great movies in the past, and they're probably going to happen more in movies moving forward, because with so much riding on these big name franchises and these big name blockbuster movies that need to generate giant amounts of revenue and further catapult an entire series forward, they've got to make sure that they get it right. And it's not out of the ordinary at all for a rough draft of anything to be picked apart and for things that need to be improved to become obviously clear in the end. Anyway, that's all I've got for this little bit of news. At the end of the day, I am pretty confident that Disney and Lucasfilm know exactly what they have to do to make sure that this film turns out solid in the end, whether that be the necessary reshoots, some changes in editing, or whatever else they do along the creative process. There's a lot of creative minds involved in this that have, I think, a good idea of what the Star Wars universe should be and where they're taking this in the future. But anyway, that is just the thoughts that I have. If you have thoughts of your own concerns, what worries you about this whole reshoot thing, please feel free to share them in the comments. If you like this video, please hit it with the like button. I always appreciate that. But above all else, everybody, thanks so much for watching.